She ordered the cheapest soup on the menu. What she served instead changed the restaurant forever. Saturday nights at Harbor Lights were never gentle. Plates clattered. Orders flew across the kitchen window. The espresso machine hissed like it was angry at the world. Every table was full, and the waiting list stretched out the door. Maya tied her apron tighter and stepped onto the floor. Table 12 needs refills. 14 is asking about their steak. 20 wants separate checks. She nodded, moving fast but steady. She had learned something during her 3 years at Harbor Lights. Speed mattered, but tone mattered more. People remembered how you made them feel, long after they forgot what they ate. Around 8:45, the door opened quietly. Not the usual loud swing, just a slow push. An older man stepped inside. His coat was clean, but worn thin at the elbows. His shoes had been polished carefully, though the leather had cracked with age. He paused just inside the doorway, as if measuring whether he belonged. The host glanced at him, then at the packed dining room. "Just one?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," he replied. She led him to the smallest table in the far corner, near the window that looked out onto the parking lot instead of the harbor. It was the table they saved for walk-ins who didn't look like they would order much. Maya noticed him immediately. Not because he looked poor, not because he looked out of place, but because he looked careful. Careful with his steps, careful with his hands, careful with his eyes. She grabbed a menu and walked over. "Good evening, sir. My name's Maya. I'll be taking care of you tonight." He looked up at her and gave a small, polite smile. "Good evening." She placed the menu down gently. "Can I start you with something to drink?" "Just water, please." "No problem." She brought the water and gave him time with the menu. From across the room she saw him reading slowly, not scanning, studying prices. Her chest tightened slightly. When she returned, he had the menu closed. "I'll have the vegetable soup," he said. "The cup, not the bowl." The cup was the cheapest item on the menu. "Of course," Maya replied. She didn't move right away. "Would you like anything else with that? Bread? Salad?" He shook his head softly. "That will be plenty." "Plenty." Maya nodded and headed toward the kitchen. "Cup of vegetable soup," she told the line cook. "That's it?" he asked. "That's it." As she turned away, she glanced at the board where the nightly special was written in bright chalk. Grilled salmon, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted asparagus. It was beautiful. It was expensive. She looked back toward the corner table. The old man was sitting straight, hands folded, eyes on the table, as if he didn't want to disturb anything. Maya stepped back to the line. "Hey," she said, quietly to the cook. "Can you plate one salmon special?" He raised an eyebrow. "For who?" "Corner table." "That's not what he ordered." "I know." The cook hesitated. "You're paying for it?" Maya didn't answer immediately. She just nodded. The cook studied her for a second, then shrugged. "Your tip money," he said, already reaching for the salmon. She watched as he prepared it carefully. He added a little extra lemon butter. He wiped the rim of the plate clean. When it was ready, she carried it herself. She set the plate down in front of the old man. His eyes widened. "I believe there's been a mistake," he said gently. "I ordered the soup." Maya smiled. "No mistake. The chef wanted you to try the special tonight." He stared at the plate, then back at her. "I can't afford this." "It's already taken care of," she replied. There was a long pause. The restaurant noise seemed to fade around them. "I don't want charity," he said quietly. Her voice softened. "It's not charity. It's dinner." He held her gaze for a moment, searching for something. Pity, maybe. Or judgment. He found neither. Slowly he picked up his fork. He took one bite. His eyes closed. Not dramatically. Not like in a commercial. Just a small closing, like someone opening a memory, carefully. Maya stepped away to give him privacy, but she kept glancing over. He didn't rush. He didn't leave anything on the plate. When he finished, he folded his napkin neatly and placed it beside the dish. Maya brought the check. The bill showed 1 cup of vegetable soup. He looked at it. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small handful of coins and a few worn bills. He counted them slowly. She noticed his hands trembling slightly. He placed the money in the folder and slid it toward her. "For treating me like I'll belong here," she swallowed. "You do belong here," he said. He studied her face. "How long have you worked here?" he asked. 3 years. "Do you like it?" She considered the question. "Most days." He nodded, as if that answer made sense. "I used to stand where you're standing," he said. She frowned slightly. "I'm sorry?" "I used to run this place." She blinked. "Harbor Lights? It wasn't called that back then." Her heart skipped. What was it called? Mariner's Table. The name meant nothing to her, but something in his tone made her listen harder. "I opened it 42 years ago," he continued. "Saved for a decade. Worked double shifts at another restaurant. Slept in my car some nights." Prettiest smile I'd ever seen. He let out a soft breath that might have been a laugh. "We built this place together." Maya glanced around the room. The bar area had been remodeled. The floors were different. The sign outside was modern and backlit. But the walls were old brick. Original brick. "We sold it," he said quietly, "when she got sick." Her chest tightened. "Cancer?" He nodded. "Insurance covered some, not enough." He looked around the restaurant slowly. "I wanted to see what it became." Maya didn't know what to say. Across the room, the current owner, Daniel, had been watching. He hadn't caught every word, but he saw the old man's expression. He saw Maya standing still instead of rushing to her next table. Daniel walked over. "Everything all right here?" he asked. The old man looked up. "Yes," he said calmly. "More than all right." Daniel smiled politely. "Good to hear." The old man studied his face. "You're the owner?" "I am." The old man reached into his coat again. Maya expected more coins. Instead, he pulled out a folded, faded photograph. He placed it on the table. Daniel picked it up. It showed the same building, decades younger. The sign above the door read Mariner's Table. A young couple stood in front, smiling. The man in the photo had thicker hair, straighter shoulders. But it was him. Daniel's expression shifted. "You're?" "Yes," the old man said gently. "I am." No accusation. Just truth. Daniel looked at Maya, then back at the photo. "You built this?" Daniel asked. "We did," the old man corrected softly. Silence settled over the small table. Finally, Daniel pulled out a chair and sat down. "I bought this place 12 years ago," Daniel said. "It was struggling. Different name, different owners." The old man nodded. "Places change hands. It happens." Daniel glanced at Maya. "She treated you well?" The old man smiled. "She treated me with dignity." That word seemed to land heavily. Dignity. Daniel leaned back slightly. "We run a business," he said carefully. "Margins are tight, food costs are high." The old man met his eyes. "I understand business," he replied. "I just wanted to know if there was still a heart beating inside these walls." Daniel looked around the restaurant. Laughter from the bar. A child spilling a drink, and a busser cleaning it up without complaint. He looked at Maya again. "How much did the special cost?" he asked her quietly. She hesitated. "I covered it." "With what?" he pressed. "My tips." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood. "Excuse me," he said, walking toward the kitchen. Maya's stomach tightened. She expected a lecture, maybe worse. Instead, 10 minutes later, Daniel returned with a small wooden plaque. He placed it on the corner table. The old man looked down at it. It read, "Kindness plate, available every night." Daniel cleared his throat. "Starting tonight," he said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, "we'll offer one full meal, no questions asked, to anyone who needs it." A few heads turned. Maya's eyes widened. Daniel looked at the old man. "You built this place," he said. "Seems only right. We honor that." The old man's eyes glistened. "I didn't come for recognition," he said. "I know," Daniel replied. "That's why this matters." The old man stood slowly. He extended his hand to Daniel. Then he turned to Maya. "You reminded me why we started," he said. She felt her throat tighten. "You reminded me why it's still worth running," Daniel added quietly. The old man walked toward the door. Just before he stepped outside, he paused. He looked back at the dining room one last time, not like a man who had lost something, but like a man who had found it again. When the door closed behind him, the restaurant noise returned in full. Orders, laughter, movement. But something had shifted. Maya picked up the wooden plaque and carried it to the host stand. Daniel followed. "Put it where people can see it," he said. She nodded. As she placed it down, she felt something steady settle inside her. Not pride, not victory, purpose. Later that night, just before closing, a young man walked in hesitantly. "Are you still serving?" he asked. Maya glanced at the plaque. She smiled. "We are." He looked embarrassed. "I don't have much." She touched the edge of the wooden sign. "That's okay." She led him to a table. In the kitchen, she didn't hesitate this time. "One kindness plate," she called out. The cook nodded without question. And somewhere, beyond the harbor lights and the dark water, an old memory rested easy. Because the place he built still served food, but more importantly, served dignity. P.